Jake Morrison stepped off the transport ship and looked around. The space station was huge, bigger than anything he had ever seen before. The walls were made of some kind of metal that seemed to glow with its own light. Strange sounds came from everywhere. Clicks, whistles, and noises he could not understand. Other beings walked past him. Some had 4 arms. Others had skin that looked like rocks. A few had what looked like fins instead of legs. Jake had never seen so many different types of aliens in one place. He picked up his bag and followed the signs that said, "New cadets this way." The Galactic Defense Academy was the most important military school in known space. Every species that wanted to join the galactic community had to send their best young people here. Jake was one of only 12 humans at the academy. Humans were new to space travel. Most other species had been flying between stars for thousands of years. Jake walked down a long hallway. The floor felt strange under his feet. It was like walking on a ship during a storm. Everything felt heavier than it should. His bag seemed to weigh twice as much as it did on Earth. His legs felt tired after just a few steps. "You must be the new human," said a voice behind him. Jake turned around. A tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms was looking at him. The alien wore the same uniform that Jake had been given. It was dark blue with silver buttons. "Yes," Jake said. "I am Jake Morrison. I am Commander Vex," the alien said. "I run the training program here. You will report to me every day." Commander Vex was at least 8 feet tall. His 4 arms moved independently of each other. 2 arms held data pads while the other 2 gestured as he spoke. His skin looked like it was made of metal plates. Jake wondered if it was natural armor. "The gravity here is set to 1.2 times Earth normal," Commander Vex explained. "Most species find this comfortable for training. How do you feel?" Jake shrugged. "It is a little heavy, but not too bad." Commander Vex made a note on one of his data. "Pads. Interesting. Most humans struggle with our gravity when they first arrive. Where are you from?" "Titan Colony," Jake said. "I worked in the mines there." "Ah," Commander Vex said. "That explains it. Titan has higher gravity than Earth, does it not?" "Yes, sir. About 1.8 times Earth normal." Commander Vex made another note. "Follow me. I will show you to your room and introduce you to your classmates." They walked through more hallways. Jake saw other cadets training in large rooms. Some were running on machines that looked like treadmills. Others were lifting weights that glowed with energy. Everything looked more advanced than anything Jake had seen on Earth. "Your roommate is named Crix," Commander Vex said. "He is from the Zephyr system. His people are made of living crystal. Do not be alarmed by his appearance." They stopped at a door, marked with symbols Jake could not read. Commander Vex pressed his hand against a panel, and the door opened. Inside the room were 2 beds and 2 desks. One side of the room looked normal. The other side had what looked like a pile of blue and green rocks on the bed. "Hello," said a voice from the pile of rocks. "You must be my new roommate." The rocks moved and reformed into the shape of a person. It was like watching someone build a statue out of colored glass. Soon, a being that looked roughly human, but made entirely of crystal, stood before Jake. "I am Crix," the crystal being said. "Welcome to the Academy. This is Jake Morrison," Commander Vex said. "He will be your roommate for the next year." "Commander." Vex left them alone. Jake put his bag on the empty bed and looked around the room. It was small but clean. There was a window that showed the stars outside. "Is this your first time away from your home planet?" Crix asked. "Yes," Jake said. "I have never been anywhere but Earth and Titan." "I have been to many worlds," Crix said. "My people are traders. We travel between the stars buying and selling goods." I joined the academy because I want to see more of the galaxy. Jake unpacked his few belongings. He had not brought much, just some clothes and a few personal items. Everything else had been provided by the academy. What is training like here? Jake asked. Hard, Crick said. Very hard. Many cadets do not make it through. The first month, the physical training is the worst part. Commander Vex pushes everyone to their limits. What kind of physical training? Running, climbing, fighting, Crick said, all under high gravity. Some species cannot handle it. Last month, 3 cadets from the Aqua system had to go home. The gravity was too much for them. Jake nodded. He had spent his whole life working in high gravity. The mines on Titan were dangerous places. Workers had to be strong just to survive a normal day. Are there other humans here? Jake asked. Yes, but not many. Maybe 10 or 12 in the whole academy. Most stay together in their own group. They do not talk to other species much. Jake thought about this. He had always gotten along well with different types of people. Growing up in the mines, he had worked with people from all over Earth. Different cultures, different languages, different ways of thinking. That evening, Jake went to the mess hall for dinner. The room was huge and filled with long tables. Hundreds of cadets sat eating and talking. The noise was incredible. So many different voices speaking so many different languages. Jake got his food from a machine that scanned his hand and produced a tray. The food looked like normal human food, but it tasted different. Not bad, just different. He looked around for a place to sit. Most tables were filled with cadets from the same species. The crystal beings sat together. The 4-armed aliens sat together. The fish-like beings sat together. Jake saw a table with other humans. They were all talking and laughing together. He started to walk toward them, but stopped. At another table, he saw a mix of different species all sitting together. They seemed to be having a good time, despite not all looking the same. Jake walked to the mixed table. Can I sit here? He asked. Of course, said a being with green skin and tentacles instead of arms. I am Gloop. I am from the Verdant system. Jake. I am from Earth. A human, said another being. This one looked like a giant insect with 6 legs and compound eyes. I am Buzz. I have never met a human before. Nice to meet you, Jake said. As Jake ate, he listened to the conversation around him. The different species talked about their home worlds, their families, and their hopes for the future. Despite looking so different, they all seemed to want the same things. They wanted to explore the galaxy, protect their people, and make a difference in the universe. What is Earth like? Asked a being that looked like a walking tree. It is beautiful, Jake said. Blue oceans, green forests, high mountains, many different climates and landscapes. And humans live everywhere on the planet? Buzz asked. Yes, we have spread to every continent. We even live in space now, on stations and colonies. That is impressive, Gloop said. Most species stay on their home worlds for thousands of years before they venture into space. Humans are curious, Jake said. We always want to see what is beyond the next hill or across the next ocean. After dinner, Jake walked back to his room. The hallways were quieter now. Most cadets were either studying or sleeping. Jake could hear the hum of the space station's engines and the whisper of air through the ventilation system. In his room, Crix was reading from a device that projected words into the air. The words were in a language Jake did not recognize. How was dinner? Crix asked. Good, Jake said. I met some interesting people. That is good. It is important to make friends here. Training is easier when you have others to help you. Jake got ready for bed. Tomorrow would be his first day of real training. He had no idea what to expect, but he was not worried. He had been working hard his whole life. How different could military training be? As he lay in bed, Jake thought about home. He missed the familiar weight of Titan's gravity and the sound of the mining equipment. But he was excited about the future. He was going to be part of something bigger than himself. He was going to help protect the galaxy. Outside his window, the stars shone bright against the darkness of space. Each one might have planets with people living on them. Different species, different cultures, different ways of life. Jake wanted to see them all. He closed his eyes and went to sleep, dreaming of adventures among the stars. Jake woke up before dawn. His body was used to getting up early from his days working in the mines. Crix was still sleeping, his crystal body dim in the early morning light. Jake put on his training clothes and walked to the mess hall. Only a few cadets were up this early. He ate a quick breakfast and headed to Training Bay 7. Commander Vex had told all the new cadets to meet there at 0600 hours. The training bay was enormous. The ceiling was so high that Jake could barely see it. Strange machines lined the walls. Some looked like they were for running. Others looked like they were for lifting heavy objects. In the center of the room was an obstacle course that looked like it could kill someone. Other cadets started arriving. Jake recognized some from dinner the night before. Buzz, the insect-like being, waved at him with one of his 6 arms. Gloop, the green tentacled alien, made a sound that Jake thought might be a greeting. "Good morning, cadets," Commander Vex said as he entered the bay. His 4 arms carried different devices. "Today, we begin your physical assessment. This will determine what level of training you need." Jake looked around at the other cadets. There were about 30 of them total. Some looked confident. Others looked scared. A few looked like they wanted to go home. "We will start with basic exercises under normal gravity," Commander Vex continued. "Then we will increase the difficulty. Remember, this is not a competition. It is an assessment. Do your best, but do not hurt yourself." The first test was running. Jake had always been a good runner. In the mines, workers sometimes had to run quickly to avoid cave-ins or equipment failures. He kept pace with the faster cadets easily. The second test was climbing. A wall stretched up toward the ceiling. Handholds were placed at different intervals. Some cadets with natural climbing abilities, like those with multiple arms, did vary. Well, Jake used techniques he had learned climbing around mining equipment. He made it to the top without much trouble. The third test was lifting. Heavy objects had to be moved from one place to another. Jake was not the strongest cadet, but he was used to moving heavy things. He finished in the middle of the group. "Acceptable," Commander Vex said, making notes on his datapad. "Now we will increase the gravity to 1.5 times normal. This simulates conditions you might encounter on high-gravity worlds." Jake felt the change immediately. Everything became heavier. His arms felt like they were made of lead. His legs felt like they were stuck in mud. Around him, other cadets struggled with the new conditions. "Begin the obstacle course," Commander Vex ordered. The first cadet was a tall, thin being with long arms and legs. Under normal gravity, he would have been very fast. Under high gravity, he moved like he was walking through thick water. He made it halfway through the course before he had to stop. The second cadet was one of the 4-armed aliens like Commander Vex. She did better than the first, but still struggled with the heavier conditions. She completed the course, but it took her a long time. More cadets tried the course. Some did well. Others had to be helped off when they collapsed from exhaustion. The crystal beings like Crix seemed to handle the gravity better than most. Their bodies were naturally dense and strong. "Morrison," Commander Vex called. "Your turn." Jake stepped up to the starting line. The obstacle course stretched out before him. There were walls to climb, ropes to swing on, and heavy objects to move. Under 1.5 times normal gravity, everything would be much harder. Begin, Commander Vex said. Jake started running. The first obstacle was a wall about 10 feet high. Under normal gravity, he could have jumped and grabbed the top. Under high gravity, he had to climb it step by step. His arms burned with the effort, but he kept going. The second obstacle was a rope swing across a pit. Jake grabbed the rope and swung across. The extra gravity made him swing lower than he expected, but he made it to the other side. The third obstacle was a crawl through a tunnel. Jake got down on his hands and knees and crawled through. The gravity pressed down on his back, but he kept moving forward. The fourth obstacle was lifting a heavy block and carrying it across a balance beam. Jake picked up the block. It felt like it weighed twice as much as it should. He stepped onto the balance beam and walked across carefully. One step at a time. The last obstacle was climbing a rope to the top of a tower. Jake grabbed the rope and started climbing. His arms were already tired from the other obstacles. Each pull up the rope was harder than the last, but he kept going. Hand over hand, foot over foot. Jake reached the top and rang the bell. Then he slid down the rope and ran to the finish line. He was breathing hard, but he was not exhausted like some of the other cadets. Commander Vex looked at his stopwatch. Third best time of the day, he announced. Very good, Morrison. Jake walked to the side of the training bay to catch his breath. Other cadets looked at him with surprise. A few came over to congratulate him. That was amazing, Buzz said. You made it look easy. It was not easy, Jake said. I just kept going. How did you do so well? Asked a cadet with blue skin and gills. The gravity was crushing. I grew up in high gravity, Jake explained. Titan Colony has 1.8 times Earth normal. This felt lighter than home. The cadets looked at each other. They had not realized that some humans came from high-gravity worlds. Attention, cadets, Commander Vex called. Lunch break. Return here in 1 hour for combat training. Jake walked to the mess hall with some of the other cadets. Word was already spreading about his performance on the obstacle course. Some cadets were curious about humans. Others seemed less friendly. At lunch, Jake sat with Crix and some of the cadets he had met the night before. They asked him questions about Earth and human colonies. How many humans live in high gravity? Gloop asked. Not many, Jake said. Most humans live on Earth or low-gravity stations. But there are millions of us in the asteroid belt and outer system colonies. Are they all as strong as you? Buzz asked. I am not especially strong, Jake said. I just work hard. At another table, Jake noticed a group of cadets talking quietly and looking in his direction. One of them was a large insect-like being with sharp claws and mandibles. Jake remembered seeing him before. His name was Zack. They do not look happy, Crix whispered to Jake. Why not? Jake asked. Some species have been in space for thousands of years, Crix explained. They think they are naturally superior to newer species like humans. Your performance today challenges that belief. Jake looked over at Zack's table again. The large insect was gesturing angrily with his claws. Jake could not hear what he was saying, but he could guess. Should I be worried? Jake asked. Probably, Crix said. Zack has been here for 6 months. He is one of the strongest cadets in our class. He probably expected to be the best at physical training. I was just doing my best, Jake said. I know, Crix said. But sometimes that is enough to make enemies. After lunch, they returned to the training bay. The obstacle course had been moved to make room for a large circular area marked with lines. This was obviously for combat training. This afternoon we will practice hand-to-hand combat, Commander Vex announced. You will be paired with cadets of similar size and strength. Remember, this is training, not a real fight. No one should be seriously injured. Commander Vex began calling out pairs. Jake was matched with a cadet named Blub, who was from an aquatic world. Blub looked like a cross between a human and a fish. He had fins instead of hands and gills on his neck. Combat will take place under 1.5 times normal gravity, Commander Vex continued. This will help you learn to fight under difficult conditions. Jake felt the gravity increase again. His body was getting used to the heavier conditions, but it was still tiring. Begin, Commander Vex said. Jake and Blub circled each other in the combat ring. Blub was fast and flexible, but the high gravity was clearly affecting him. His movements were slower than they should be. Jake had learned to fight in the mines. Accidents happened, and sometimes workers had to defend themselves from thieves or claim jumpers. He was not a trained fighter, but he knew how to use his body. As a weapon, Blub lunged forward, trying to grab Jake with his fin-like arms. Jake stepped aside and swept Blub's legs out from under him. The fish-like being fell hard to the mat. Point to Morrison, Commander Vex said. They reset and started again. This time, Blub was more careful. He tried to stay at a distance and use his reach advantage. But the high gravity was wearing him down. His movements became slower and more predictable. Jake waited for an opening. When Blub overextended himself with a long-range attack, Jake moved in close and grappled him. Using techniques he had learned moving heavy equipment, Jake lifted Blub and threw him to the mat. Match to Morrison, Commander Vex announced. Jake helped Blub to his feet. The aquatic cadet was breathing hard through his gills. Good match, Blub said. You are stronger than you look. Thank you, Jake said. You are fast. In normal gravity, you would have been much harder to beat. As Jake left the combat ring, he noticed Zack watching him. The large insect's compound eyes seemed to follow his every movement. Jake had a feeling that this was not over. The rest of the afternoon passed with more training. Jake did well in all the exercises. He was not the best at everything, but he was consistently good. By the end of the day, he had earned the respect of most of his fellow cadets. But as he walked back to his room, Jake heard voices behind him. He turned to see. Jake woke up sore. His muscles ached from yesterday's training. The high-gravity exercises had pushed his body harder than usual, but he had felt worse after long shifts in the Titan mines. This was manageable. Krix was already awake, his crystal body glowing softly in the morning light. How do you feel? He asked. Tired, but okay, Jake said. What about you? The gravity is hard for my people, Krix admitted. We are used to low-gravity worlds, but I am getting stronger. They went to breakfast together. A mess hall was busier than usual. Word had spread about yesterday's training results. Jake noticed cadets looking at him as he passed. Some seemed curious. Others seemed hostile. Jake got his food and sat with Krix at their usual table. Soon, they were joined by Buzz, Gloop, and a few other cadets from different species. How is the human hero today? Buzz asked, clicking his mandibles at what Jake had learned was laughter. I am not a hero, Jake said. I just did my best. Your best was better than most, Gloop said. The other cadets are talking about it. What are they saying? Jake asked. Different things, Buzz said. Some think humans are stronger than anyone realized. Others think you are just lucky. And what do you think? Jake asked. I think, Buzz said, that yesterday was just the beginning. Today will be the real test. After breakfast, they reported to Training Bay 7 again. Commander Vex was waiting with his 4 arms full of equipment. The obstacle course had been changed. New elements had been added. Everything looked harder. Today we focus on advanced combat training, Commander Vex announced. You will face opponents who are larger and stronger than you. This simulates real combat situations where you may not have the advantage. Jake looked around at the other cadets. Many of them were indeed larger and stronger than him. The four-armed Altarians were natural warriors. The insect-like chitin had natural armor and weapons. The crystal beings were incredibly tough. We will also be increasing the gravity for combat training, Commander Vex continued. This will help you learn to fight under extreme conditions. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Higher gravity meant more difficulty, but it also meant conditions closer to what he was used to at home. Morrison, Commander Vex called. You will face Keth in the first match. Keth was an Altarian like Commander Vex. He was 7 feet tall with 4 muscular arms and natural armor plating. His species had been warriors for thousands of years. Jake had seen him fight yesterday. He was fast, strong, and skilled. Gravity will be set to 2.0 times normal, Commander Vex announced. A murmur went through the watching cadets. Double gravity was much higher than the standard training conditions. Most species would find it very difficult to move, let alone fight. Jake stepped into the combat ring. He immediately felt the increased gravity pull him down. It was like having someone twice his size sitting on his shoulders. But it was still less than the 2.3 times gravity he had grown up with in the mines. Keth entered the ring from the other side. The Altarian was clearly struggling with the high gravity. His 4 arms, usually a major advantage, now seemed to weigh him down. His movements were slower and more labored. Begin, Commander Vex said. Keth moved forward, all 4 arms ready to attack. In normal gravity, he would have been incredibly fast. Under double gravity, he moved like he was walking through deep water. Jake circled to the side, using his smaller size to his advantage. He had learned in the mines that sometimes the best strategy was to let bigger opponents wear themselves out. Keth swung 2 of his arms at Jake. Jake ducked under the attack and moved closer. The Altarian's natural armor was strong, but Jake knew that every species had weak points. He aimed for the joints where the armor plates met. Jake grabbed one of Keth's arms and used the alien's own weight against him. In the high gravity, Keth could not recover his balance quickly. He fell to the mat with a loud crash. Point to Morrison, Commander Vex announced. They reset and started again. This time, Keth was more careful. He tried to use his reach advantage to keep Jake at a distance, but the high gravity was clearly exhausting him. Jake waited for his chance. When Keth overextended himself with a long-range attack, Jake moved in close. He got inside the Altarian's guard and applied a chokehold he had learned breaking up fights in the mines. Match to Morrison, Commander Vex said. The watching cadets were silent. Jake had just defeated one of the strongest fighters in their class, under conditions that should have favored his opponent. Jake helped Keth to his feet. The Altarian was breathing hard and sweating from the effort. Good fight, Keth said. You are stronger than you look. Thank you, Jake said. You fought well, too. As Jake left the combat ring, he saw Zack pushing through the crowd of cadets. The large insect's compound eyes were focused on him with what looked like anger. That was impressive, Zack said, his mandibles clicking. But I think the human got lucky again. Maybe, Jake said. Would you like to find out? Zack's mandibles clicked faster. Yes, I would. Commander Vex looked at his datapad. Zack, you are not scheduled to fight until later. I volunteer to fight the human now, Zack said. Unless he is too tired. Jake looked at the large insect. Zack was bigger than Keth and looked even more dangerous. His natural armor was thicker. His claws were sharper. His species had been warriors longer than almost any other. I can fight, Jake said. Very well, Commander Vex said. But first, let me ask you something, Morrison. How do you feel about the current gravity level? Jake thought about it. Double gravity was challenging, but it was not crushing. It is manageable, sir. What if we increased it further? The watching cadets stirred. Higher than double gravity was entering dangerous territory. Most species could not function effectively. Under such conditions, how much higher? Jake asked. 2.5 times normal, Commander Vex said. That is too high, Crix said from the crowd. It could be dangerous. The human can choose, Zack said. Fight me under normal combat conditions, or prove that he is really as strong as he claims. Jake looked around at the watching cadets. He could see doubt in their eyes. They were wondering if his previous victories had been luck or skill. This was about more than just fighting. It was about proving that humans belonged among the stars. I will fight under 2.5 times gravity, Jake said. The cadets murmured among themselves. Even Commander Vex looked surprised. Are you certain? The commander asked. That level of gravity is beyond our normal safety protocols. I am certain, Jake said. Very well. But this match will be closely monitored. If either fighter is in danger, it will be stopped immediately. Jake stepped back into the combat ring. He felt the gravity increase again. Now it was like having 3 people his size sitting on him. His legs felt like tree trunks. His arms felt like they were made of lead, but it was still less than what he had grown up with. The mines of Titan ran at 2.3 times Earth gravity, and Jake had spent years doing heavy labor under those conditions. Zack entered the ring from the other side. The large insect was clearly struggling. His 6 legs, normally a major advantage, now seemed to barely support his weight. His breathing was labored. This is madness, Zack said. How can you even stand? Practice, Jake said. Begin, Commander Vex said. Zack tried to move forward, but the gravity was too much. His natural armor, which made him nearly invulnerable, under normal conditions, now weighed him down like a suit of lead. Jake moved around the ring slowly but steadily. He was tired, but he was still functional. Zack, on the other hand, could barely move. This is impossible, Zack said, his mandibles clicking with frustration. No one can fight under these conditions. I can, Jake said. He moved in close to Zack. The insect tried to defend himself, but his movements were too slow. Jake grabbed one of Zack's legs and pulled. The insect lost his balance and crashed to the mat. Point to Morrison, Commander Vex sighed. They reset, but Zack was clearly exhausted. The high gravity was draining his strength faster than he could recover. Do you want to continue? Jake asked. Yes, Zack said, but his voice was weak. They started again. This time Zack tried to stay defensive. He crouched low and waited for Jake to come to him. But he was too tired to be effective. Jake feinted left, then moved right. Zack tried to follow, but lost his balance. Jake grabbed the insect's arm and used a throw he had learned in the mines. Zack hit the mat hard and did not get up. Match to Morrison, Commander Vex announced. The watching cadets were completely silent. Jake had just defeated one of the strongest fighters in the academy under conditions that should have been impossible. Jake helped Zack to his feet. The insect was breathing hard and could barely stand. How? Zack asked. How can you fight under such gravity? I grew up in 2.3 times gravity, Jake explained. This is actually lighter than home. Zack stared at him with his compound eyes. You mean ... this is normal for you? Not normal, Jake said, but familiar. Commander Vex reduced the gravity back to normal levels. Jake felt like he was floating. His body felt light and free. That was remarkable, Commander Vex said. I have never seen anyone fight effectively under 2.5 times gravity. Where I come from, you have to be strong to survive, Jake said. The other cadets gathered around him. They looked at him with new respect. Even species that had been dismissive of humans were now curious about their capabilities. Are all humans from high-gravity worlds? Buzz asked. No, Jake said. Most humans live on Earth, though. Jake woke up at 0430 hours. His body was getting used to the early schedule. He put on his training clothes and headed to Training Bay Alpha. He had never been in this part of the academy before. The bay was smaller than Training Bay 7, but it looked more dangerous. The equipment was different. Everything looked like it was built for extreme conditions. Heavy gravity simulators, environmental chambers, and obstacle courses that looked like they belonged on alien worlds. Commander Vex was waiting for him, along with 2 other instructors Jake had never seen before. One was a tall, thin being with silver skin and no visible eyes. The other looked like a walking tree with branches for arms. Morrison, Commander Vex said. Meet Instructor Zeph and Instructor Groot. They will be helping with your specialized training. Hello, Jake said. We have been studying your performance data, Instructor Zeph said. His voice sounded like wind through metal. Very interesting. Your species shows remarkable adaptability. Thank you, sir. Do not thank me yet, Instructor Zeph said. We are about to test your limits. Are you ready? Yes, sir. Good. First, we will establish your baseline capabilities under extreme gravity. Step into the chamber. Jake walked into what looked like a small room with transparent walls. The moment he stepped inside, he felt the gravity increase. It was like being pressed down by a giant hand. Current gravity is 2.5 times normal, Instructor. Groot said. His voice sounded like rustling leaves. How do you feel? Heavy, but manageable, Jake said. Increasing to 3.0 times normal, the pressure increased. Jake felt his knees buckle slightly, but he remained standing. This was harder than anything he had experienced before. Even the mines of Titan had not been this intense. This is remarkable, Instructor Zeph said. Most species would be unconscious by now. How do you feel? Instructor Groot asked. Difficult, but I can handle it, Jake said, increasing to 3.5 times normal. Now Jake was really struggling. Each breath was an effort. His legs felt like they were made of concrete. But he was still standing. Enough, Commander Vex said. Reduce gravity to normal levels. Jake felt the pressure lift. He almost fell over from the sudden lightness. His body felt like it was floating. That was incredible, Instructor Zeph said. You remained functional under 3.5 times normal gravity. That is unprecedented. Most species cannot survive under 3.0 times gravity, Instructor Groot added. You are walking and talking. I grew up in high gravity, Jake said. My body is used to it. Yes, but this goes beyond mere adaptation, Commander Vex said. This suggests that humans have natural capabilities that other species lack. They spent the next hour testing Jake's abilities under different conditions. Extreme heat, extreme cold, low oxygen, high radiation. In each case, Jake performed better than any known species. Now comes the real test, Commander Vex said. We are going to simulate combat conditions on a high-gravity world. You will face multiple opponents under 3.0 times normal gravity. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Fighting one opponent under extreme gravity was hard enough. Multiple opponents would be much worse. Are you ready? Commander Vex asked. Yes, sir. They moved to a larger chamber. This one had multiple levels and obstacles. It looked like a miniature city built for giants. Your opponents will be combat robots, Instructor Zeph explained. They are programmed to fight at maximum efficiency under any gravity conditions. 3. Robots entered the chamber. They looked like mechanical versions of different alien species. One had 4 arms like an Altarian. One had 6 legs like a chitin. One had tentacles like an Aquarian. Gravity increasing to 3.0 times normal. Instructor Groot announced. Jake felt the familiar pressure settle on his shoulders. It was like carrying 3 other people on his back. But he was getting used to it. "Begin," Commander Vex said. The robots moved toward him. Under extreme gravity, their movements were slower than they would normally be. But they were still faster than most living beings would be under these conditions. Jake used the obstacles to his advantage. He ducked behind a wall as the 4-armed robot fired energy blasts at him. He rolled under a barrier as the 6-legged robot tried to pounce on him. The tentacled robot was the most dangerous. Its flexible arms could reach around obstacles. Jake had to stay moving to avoid being caught. He grabbed a piece of debris and threw it at the 4-armed robot. The extreme gravity made the projectile hit much harder than it normally would. The robot staggered backward. Jake moved in close and grabbed one of the robot's arms. He used a technique he had learned in the mines for moving heavy equipment. He spun the robot around and threw it into the 6-legged robot. Both robots crashed to the ground. The extreme gravity made it hard for them to get back up. The tentacled robot wrapped its arms around Jake from behind. But Jake had dealt with grabbing equipment in the mines. He twisted his body and broke free. He grabbed the tentacled robot and slammed it against the wall. The robot system sparked and shut down. "Match to Morrison," Commander Vex announced. Jake stood in the center of the chamber, breathing hard, but still standing. The 3 robots lay motionless around him. "Incredible," Instructor Zeph said. "You just defeated 3 combat robots under 3.0 times normal gravity." "It was not easy," Jake said. "It was not supposed to be possible," Instructor Groot said. "They reduced the gravity back to normal levels." Jake felt like he could fly. "We need to discuss what this means," Commander Vex said. "Your abilities are far beyond what we expected." They moved to a briefing room. Commander Vex pulled up a holographic display showing various star systems. "These are the frontier worlds," he explained. "Planets that have been deemed too dangerous for colonization. High gravity, toxic atmospheres, extreme temperatures, dangerous radiation levels. But humans could survive there," Jake said. "More than survive. You could thrive. And that changes everything." The display showed dozens of worlds marked in red, unsuitable for known species, but maybe not unsuitable for humans. What would happen if humans could colonize these worlds? Jake asked. "It would double the available living space in the galaxy," Commander Vex said. "It would open up new trade routes, new resources, new opportunities. But it would also create new challenges," Instructor Zeph added. "Not all species would be happy about humans expanding into previously uninhabitable worlds." "Why not?" Jake asked. "Fear," Instructor Groot said. "Fear of change. Fear of being left behind. Fear of a species that can go places they cannot go." Jake thought about this. He had seen fear in the eyes of some cadets when he had defeated them under extreme gravity. They were afraid of what humans might be capable of. "What do you want me to do?" Jake asked. "We want you to help us develop new training programs," Commander Vex said. "Programs that will prepare humans for frontier world colonization. Programs that will also help other species understand human capabilities. And we want you to help us select other humans for specialized training," Instructor Zeph added. "Not all humans have your particular background, but many have similar potential." "When do we start?" Jake asked. "We have already started," Commander Vex said. "Today was just the beginning." Over the next few weeks, Jake's training intensified. He learned to fight under extreme gravity, survive in toxic atmospheres, and navigate dangerous terrain. He also learned about the politics of galactic expansion. Other cadets watched his training with mixtures of admiration and concern. Some wanted to learn from him. Others wanted to prove that their species were just as capable. Jake tried to stay focused on his training, But he could not ignore the growing tensions. Some species were demanding that humans be restricted to their own worlds. Others were calling for joint human-alien teams to explore the frontier worlds. The debate was spreading. Beyond the Academy, news reports spoke of protests on various worlds. Some supported human expansion. Others opposed it. "This is bigger than just you," Crick said one evening as they watched the news. "This is about the future of the galaxy." "I know," Jake said, "but I did not ask for this." "None of us ask for the roles we play in history," Crick said, "but we still have to play them." Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there were worlds waiting to be explored. But first, he had to prove that humans deserved the chance to explore them. The real test was still coming. Soon, Jake would have to demonstrate his abilities not just to instructors and fellow cadets, but to representatives from across the galaxy. The stakes were higher than personal success or failure. They were about the future of humanity among. The stars. Jake went to bed that night, knowing that everything was about to change. The galaxy was watching. And tomorrow, he would have to prove that humans were ready for the challenges ahead. The next morning brought news that would change everything. A delegation from the Galactic Council was coming to observe Jake's training. They would decide whether humans would be allowed to expand into the frontier worlds. Jake had asked for triple gravity as a joke response to their doubling. Now he would have to prove that it was not just bravado. The future of his species depended on it. As he prepared for the demonstration, Jake thought about his grandfather's words. Hard work and determination could overcome any obstacle. Tomorrow, he would find out if that was really true. The galaxy was about to learn what humans were made of, and Jake Morrison would be the one to show them. The day of the demonstration arrived gray and tense. Jake woke up early, as usual, but this time the weight of expectation felt heavier than any gravity he had trained under. Representatives from 12 different species were coming to watch him perform. Their decision would affect the future of humanity in space. Jake ate breakfast in silence. The mess hall was quieter than usual. Other cadets looked at him with mixtures of support and nervousness. Everyone knew what was at stake. "Are you ready?" Crick asked, his crystal body dim with worry. "As ready as I can be," Jake said. "Remember," Buzz said, clicking his mandibles softly, "you are not just representing yourself. You are representing the idea that different species can achieve different things." Jake nodded. He had been thinking about that all week. This was not about proving humans were better than other species. It was about proving that diversity made the galaxy stronger. At 0900 hours, Jake reported to the main demonstration hall. It was the largest space in the Academy, usually reserved for graduation ceremonies. Today, it had been converted into a testing ground. The equipment was impressive. Gravity generators that could create conditions up to 4.0 times normal. Environmental simulators that could recreate the atmosphere of any known world. Combat robots programmed with the fighting techniques of dozens of species. The viewing area was filled with beings Jake had never seen before. Representatives from the Galactic Council, military leaders, scientists, and reporters. Their various eyes, sensors, and recording devices were all focused on him. Commander Vex approached Jake with his usual data pads. "Are you ready, Morrison?" "Yes, sir." "Good. The demonstration will consist of 3 phases. First, physical capability under extreme gravity. Second, combat effectiveness under hostile conditions. Third, problem solving under stress." "What are the gravity levels?" Jake asked. "We will start at 2.5 times normal and increase to 3.5 times normal for the final phase." Jake felt his stomach tighten. 3.5 times normal was the highest gravity he had ever experienced. It was beyond what most species could even survive. "Are you certain you can handle these conditions?" Commander Vex asked quietly. I have to, Jake said. No, you do not, Commander Vex said. You can demonstrate at lower levels. No one will think less of you. Jake looked at the viewing area. He could see doubt in many of the alien faces. They were expecting him to fail. They were expecting humans to be just another species with limitations. I will do it at the planned levels, Jake said. Commander Vex nodded. Very well. But remember, if you feel you are in danger, signal immediately. We will stop the demonstration. Jake walked to the center of the testing area. The gravity generators hummed to life around him. He felt the familiar pressure begin to build. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all species, Commander Vex announced, today we will demonstrate the extreme environment capabilities of the human species. Phase 1 begins now. Jake felt the gravity increase to 2.5 times normal. It was like wearing a suit made of lead. His legs felt heavy, and his arms felt like they were made of stone. The subject will now perform basic physical tasks under high gravity conditions. Commander Vex continued. Jake began with simple movements: walking, running, jumping. Each action required tremendous effort, but he managed to complete them all. Increasing gravity to 3.0 times normal, Commander Vex announced. The pressure increased. Jake felt his knees buckle slightly, but he remained standing. This was harder than anything he had done before, but it was still manageable. He continued with the physical tasks: climbing a rope, carrying heavy objects, navigating an obstacle course. Each task was more difficult than the last, but he completed them all. Remarkable, he heard someone say from the viewing area. How is this possible? Increasing gravity to 3.5 times normal, Commander Vex announced. Jake felt the crushing weight settle on his shoulders. This was beyond what he had ever experienced. Each breath was an effort. Each step was a struggle, but he kept going. He had grown up in the mines of Titan, where failure meant death. He had learned to push through pain and exhaustion. He had learned to never give up. He completed the final physical task, a complex climbing exercise that required him to move his entire body weight up a vertical wall. By the time he reached the top, he was exhausted but victorious. Phase 1 complete, Commander Vex announced. Phase 2 begins now. The combat robots entered the testing area. There were 5 of them this time, each programmed with different fighting techniques. They moved more slowly under the extreme gravity, but they were still dangerous. Begin, Commander Vex said. Jake moved carefully. Under 3.5 times normal gravity, every movement had to be calculated. He could not afford to waste energy on unnecessary actions. The first robot attacked with energy blasts. Jake ducked behind a barrier and waited for it to come closer. When it did, he grabbed its arm and used its own momentum to throw it into the wall. The second robot tried to grapple him. Jake used techniques he had learned in the mines for dealing with heavy equipment. He twisted free and slammed the robot into the ground. The third robot was faster than the others. It moved around Jake, looking for an opening. Jake waited patiently and struck when the robot overextended itself. The fourth and fifth robots attacked together. This was the most dangerous part. Jake had to use every technique he had learned to avoid being overwhelmed. He grabbed a piece of debris and threw it at one robot while dodging the other. The extreme gravity made the projectile hit much harder than normal. The robots staggered backward. Jake moved in close and disabled both robots with quick, efficient strikes. He stood in the center of the testing area, breathing hard but still standing. Phase 2 complete, Commander Vex announced. Phase 3 begins now. The final phase was the most challenging. Jake had to solve a complex problem while under extreme physical and mental stress. The gravity remained at 3.5 times normal, but now he also had to deal with environmental hazards. The subject must repair a critical system failure while under hostile conditions, Commander Vex explained. This simulates real-world scenarios on frontier worlds. Jake approached the control panel. It was sparking and smoking. Warning lights flashed all around him. He had to identify the problem and fix it before the system failed completely. Under normal conditions, it would have been a simple task. Under extreme gravity, while exhausted from the previous phases, it was incredibly difficult. Jake forced himself to focus. He had done similar repairs in the mines, often under dangerous conditions. He traced the problem to a faulty power coupling and began the repair process. His hands were shaking from exhaustion. The extreme gravity made every movement slow and deliberate. But he kept working, step by step, until the system was repaired. Phase 3 complete, Commander Vex announced. Demonstration successful. The gravity generators powered down. Jake felt the pressure lift and almost collapsed from the sudden lightness. His body felt like it was floating. The viewing area erupted in discussion. Jake could hear beings talking in dozens of different languages. Some sounded amazed. Others sounded concerned. Commander Vex approached him with a medical scanner. How? Do you feel? Tired, Jake said. But okay. Your vital signs are stable, Commander Vex said. That was an incredible performance. Jake looked up at the viewing area. The representatives were still talking among themselves. He could not tell what they were thinking. What happens now? Jake asked. Now we wait, Commander Vex said. The council will deliberate and make their decision. Jake was escorted to a waiting area. Other cadets were there, including Crix, Buzz, and Gloop. They looked at him with awe and concern. That was amazing, Buzz said. I have never seen anything like it. How did you do it? Gloop asked. I just kept going, Jake said. I did what I had to do. That is what makes humans special, Crix said. You do not accept limitations. They waited for hours. Finally, Commander Vex returned with the council's decision. Morrison, he said, the council has reached a decision. They have voted to approve human expansion into frontier worlds. Jake felt a surge of relief and excitement. What does that mean? It means that humans will be allowed to colonize high-gravity worlds and other extreme environments that other species cannot handle, Commander Vex explained. It also means that we will be establishing new training programs to help humans prepare for these challenges. And more importantly, Commander Vex continued, it means that humans will be contributing to galactic expansion in ways that no other species can. Over the following weeks, Jake's life changed dramatically. He was no longer just a cadet. He was now an instructor, helping to develop training programs for other humans who would colonize frontier worlds. Lisa Chun, the other human cadet Jake had met early in his training, joined the program. So did other humans from various backgrounds. Mining engineers, deep-sea workers, mountain climbers, and others who had experience with extreme environments. We are creating something new, Lisa said as they watched a group of mixed-species cadets training under high gravity. A new kind of cooperation between species. What do you mean? Jake asked. Look at them. Lisa pointed to the training area. Humans teaching aliens how to survive in extreme conditions. Aliens teaching humans about advanced technology. Everyone learning from everyone else. Jake watched the training session. A human instructor was showing an Altaria,